And now, Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and what it means to be the wife of a famous star. Rupert Barlow's valet and bodyguard has just returned from Bermuda to Rupert's magnificent Long Island estate in Oyster Bay. He came in late last night, long after Rupert had retired. And so this morning he's making his first entrance to Rupert's bedroom.
Morning, boss.
Victor. In heaven's name, when did you get back? Why didn't you let me know?
Well, it was late, boss. You were in bed. Some trip we had back. I've been waiting downstairs till you rang for breakfast, so I brought it up. You want it there or over on the table?
Right here. Oh, that's good. Now then, just what's been going on down there in Bermuda? Why have you waited all this time to get back?
Well, you know how it is, Mr. Barlow. Hard to get reservations and all.
Nonsense. I don't believe it.
Well, gee, after all the trouble I went
And about Miss Julia?
Well, I don't figure her out, boss. I don't get it at all.
Suppose you tell me what's going on down in Bermuda.
She's got a boyfriend.
Yeah, so you cabled me. Who is he? What kind of a fellow?
Well, he's tall, and he's got light hair. He's tanned real dark, so I guess he's been down there for a long time.
Oh. How did you meet Miss Julia? What's all this nonsense about?
Don't ask me. I suppose she met him around the hotel or something. You know how it is, Mr. Barlow.
But I distinctly ordered her to come back home.
Sure, but I guess she was plenty burned up when you run out on her, leaving her there all alone.
Well, that's not any of her business. After all, Julia Dixon is in my employ. She's been paid, and very well, too, for over 10 years, to be here in Oyster Bay and look after my household and my personal correspondence.
Well, don't tell me about it, boss. I gave her the message like you said, and she turned on me and said, "Sorry, Victor. I have no intention of leaving Bermuda for at least another week." And then she turns to this guy and they walk off. Cool as you please.
Huh. Never heard of such a thing. Julia Dixon, of all people, making a fool of herself over some upstart.
Well, to tell the truth, boss, he's a pretty nice-looking kid.
Kid? You mean he's only a boy?
He's sure plenty younger than Miss Julia, and no insults, man.
The idea. That makes it even more ridiculous.
Oh, he ain't that young, boss. He looks plenty savvy, like he knows his way around all right. Only it's funny the way he fell for her. He's tagging after her all the time, looking into her eyes like he thought she was just plain gorgeous, and laughing and talking.
That's enough, Victor. I don't want to hear any more.
Okay, Mr. Barlow, only you asked.
Miss Julia's a very attractive woman.
Sure.
But she's also very inexperienced in many ways.
Yeah?
I wouldn't like to see her get into the hands of some adventurer.
Why not? She hasn't got anything to lose.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. What's more, I don't like this business one bit. I'm worried about her.
Yeah? Maybe you shouldn't have run out on her like you did.
I had my reasons for coming back.
Sure, boy, sure. But it's like I said. Miss Julia's got plenty of reason for wanting to stay down in Bermuda. This guy is sure giving her one hot rush. Hey, look out, you knocked over the cream pitcher.
Well, get this fool tray off my lap and let me get up before I throw the whole thing on the floor.
Sure, boy, sure. Take it easy now. Don't step on the broken china. Hey, let me put this down. Yeah, I'll get your slippers. There, now.
No, that's better. Now then, fill my cup.
Sure, Mr. Barlow. How you been making out since you got back?
It's been absolutely frightful. Never had such a wretched time in my whole life.
How come? You mean Mrs. Noble? Hey, how'd she explain about her not being on that Bermuda boat?
I was not referring to Mrs. Noble.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't know. I thought that's why you come back to find out about it.
Not at all. When I got here, I found an uninvited guest. Settled right in the house as if it belonged to her.
Her? What do you mean?
Miss Vincent, remember her? Claudia Vincent.
Holy cow, I'll say I do. The dame with the honey-colored hair and the mother who went along trying to marry her off to some guy with dough, preferably you.
Yeah, that's a vulgar way of putting it, Victor, but it covers the facts.
Where'd she pop up from?
Heaven only knows. But she was here, and what's more, she wouldn't leave. She's trying to blackmail me into paying her back all the money her foolish mother lost in a wild stock speculation over 10 years ago.
I hope you told her to go peddle her papers.
Well, I was furious, naturally, but I didn't want to make a scene.
I'd have shoved her off the reservation, and no mistake.
That's precisely why I cabled for you to get back at once.
I see. I get it now, boy. She's still here?
No. She left, quite suddenly, after firing 2 shots at me out of a gun.
Hey, you kidding?
Does it strike you as a good subject for a joke?
Holy smoke, Mr. Barlow. What'd you do? Call in the police?
No, I was persuaded not to. And she left.
Oh, just a sec. Where'd she go?
She is living at present in Rosehaven with Larry and Mary Noble.
Mr. and Mrs. Noble. Hey, what is this?
That's what I'd like to know. Larry Noble invited her, and perhaps he thinks he was being smart. But he may be very sorry before this is over. I won't forget the insult of taking Claudia Vincent's part against me. Here, take this confounded tray and put it somewhere else. Then start the water for my shower. I'm too restless to stay indoors anymore.
Okay, boss. I'll get the water regulated in a second.
Just before noon, Mary Noble returns to her Rosehaven home after doing some shopping. And as she leaves the car and walks through the house, she finds it deserted, except for Phoebe in the kitchen. And so she walks out to the flagstone terrace at the rear.
Oh, so this is where you are, Larry. I was beginning to wonder.
Hello, honey.
Good morning, Mary. Larry and I are trying to get the start of a suntan.
Where you been all this time, Mary?
I had some shopping to do in the village, and you were still sleeping.
Oh, that's probably my fault, Mary. I kept Larry up to such a disgraceful hour, reading a play with him.
So he told me, Claudia.
Really? What did he say? No, I mean honestly. Did he say I was terrible or what?
As a matter of fact, he said you were very good.
Oh, darling, how wonderful. If only I could get a chance to get into a Broadway company, but I'm sure I never shall.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. You've got plenty of ability. I could tell that from just listening last night.
No, bless you for saying that, Larry.
Why don't you get into some sun clothes, honey, and come and join us?
Perfectly wonderful out here. No wind or anything. And your garden's utterly charming. Larry's been telling me how you do it all yourself.
Yes, I enjoy working in the garden.
How clever of you, Mary. Personally, I don't know the first thing about flowers except to take them out of a box and put them into water.
That's about as far as my knowledge goes, too. But come on, Mary, join us.
I'm sorry, dear, but I'm afraid I can't. I have a rather important errand to do, if you'll excuse me.
Yeah, but why? I mean,
Don't you see that she's made plans, Larry? You mustn't ever try to pin a woman down. It's not nice.
Well, all right, but I just
I've
thought...
arranged with Phoebe to bring you lunch whenever you're ready. You could have it out here if you like.
But I've only just finished breakfast, my dear.
You speak for yourself, Claudia. I'm hungry.
And Larry, suppose you just tell Phoebe when you want it.
Well, aren't you even going to join us, me, for lunch?
I'm afraid not, darling. I want to take the car and get this errand attended to. That is, if you weren't planning to use it.
Well, not exactly.
What do you mean?
Well, I had kind of half promised Claudia to drive her over to the club and show her my sailboat, but it wasn't...
Oh, now, Larry. No, that's not necessary. We can do it any other time. Besides, I think I'd rather just lie out here in the sun than anything else in the world.
Okay, then. That suits me fine.
Very well, then. I hope you'll be comfortable. I'll be back in plenty of time, Larry, in case you want to drive to New York this evening.
Well, I don't know.
In any case, I'll be back soon.
You see? What did I tell you?
What do you mean?
About Mary.
What about Mary?
She resents me being here.
Oh, nonsense, Claudia.
Larry, I know I can tell. She dislikes me so much that she can't even bear to stay at home while I'm here.
Oh, you've got her all wrong. Mary isn't like that. Not a bit like that.
No use, Larry. You're sweet to try to pretend. But I know that Mary won't rest until I tell her I'm leaving.
Larry frowns as he hears these words, and he wonders whether or not there's some truth in them. Then he thinks about Rupert Barlow and his jaw set in a stubborn line. Be sure to be listening tomorrow to Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and her husband Larry Noble, famous Broadway star.